Welcome back. Today, in my hands, I have GTX 1050 series competitor and AMD RX 560. It's been a while since this budget card hit the market, but can it still run modern games in 2024? We are about to find out by testing 5 popular titles. So let's fire up the test bench and see how this card handles today's gaming demands. As always, before we jump into the gameplay and benchmarks, here's what we are working with today. I'm rocking MSI's AERO ITX version, who came out in 2017 and equipped with Polaris 21 graphics processor. This card offered really good 1080p performance per money at that time. As for shading units, this card came with 1024 of them, good chunk more than 1050 Ti. But can RX 560 perform as well as 1050 Ti? Well, I will allow you to be judge of that. But as for memory size, I have 4GB version, but card came also with 2GB, and both versions was equipped with GDDR5 memory and 128-bit bus width. And because card doesn't have any other power connectors except motherboard's X16 slot, card have 75W TDP, what is very efficient. And as always, full test bench setup will be in the video description down below. But now, let's see how card performs in games with best playable settings. Let's start with Counter-Strike 2, one of the most popular games out there. I'm running the game at 1080p with medium settings to keep things smooth, and card averaged 119.3 FPS with minimum of just 86.9 and maximum of 157 frames per second. Card runs CS just smooth without any stuttering, but taking the fact that CS2 is more like competitive game rather than casual, then these frame rates are a bit too low for that, but otherwise, game was enjoyable with decent graphical details. Next up is Grand Theft Auto 5. Even though it's been around for years, GTA 5 remains a great game for testing lower end hardware. But still, I managed to crank settings up and run GTA 5 at 1080p high settings, and card's memory allowed game to run in DirectX 11. GTA's average frame rate was 68.5, minimum was 46.7 FPS and maximum was 86.2 frames per second. Matter the card's age, frame rate was very stable. Of course, not in hundreds, but with good looking graphics and efficient at 75 watts max, so it's acceptable. For the third game, we are jumping into Fortnite. This battle royale can be quite demanding at higher graphical settings, so I stick with 1080p resolution at low to medium settings, but basically medium preset with VSync turned off and reflections set to low. Oh, and in DirectX 12 mode. And with that, card get average 114.9 frames per second, where minimum was 83.7 FPS and maximum was 143.8 frames per second. And here, card also gets smooth and stable frame rate, without any major drops, while in fights or hot drops. Now, let's switch to something different. The game who was designed to run with RX 560. This game is Overwatch, but now it's called Overwatch 2, with a bit more demanding visuals than previous version. But with all that, RX 560 managed to run game in 1080p with medium settings, with VSync and FSR turned off. Average frame rate was 134.7, minimum dropped just under 100 FPS at 98, and maximum was 190.1 frames per second. And here, card's 4GB of GDDR5 memory really helped to get those visuals at stable frame rate, without any FPS drops in heavy fights. Finally, for last game I choose Rocket League at 1080p high quality preset, with some other settings dialed down, like VSync or motion blur. Average frame rate was 113.1, minimum was 94.4 and maximum was 165 FPS. And for Rocket League, there is not much else to say, other than card performed flawlessly with rich visuals. But there is one more thing I want to run, and that is 3D Mark's TimeSpy at 1080p. I really wanted to see card's score, and card's graphical score was 2978 points, a bit less than I was expected. I was expecting something like about 3000 mark, but that's why this card is OC version, so it is meant to be overclocked. But that's for another video. But for now, there you have it, 5 games and 1 benchmark that will let you understand if you want to buy this card when you see a good deal at Facebook Marketplace. But for my personal opinion, I'd say that this card is still worth like 15 to 20 euros, mostly for older systems, because card doesn't take much power to get into 1080p gaming. Of course, you will need to sacrifice a lot if you are not that lucky and get your hands with 2GB model, which I'm not personally a fan of, because most of the time card's memory played a big role in graphics settings and visuals, especially in games like GTA 5 or Fortnite. But for now, thanks for watching and write down in the comment section which games you want to see run with this card. And don't forget to like this video if you liked it and click subscribe button. But now, see you in the next one.